All right, welcome back. One more week of polynomials, and then we'll be off to something new. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is multiplying polynomials that are more than just a binomial times a binomial, and then also some special cases. So if you look at the first example here, we have a binomial. So x plus 8 is a binomial, and then the other polynomial, 5x squared minus 6x plus 10, is a trinomial. So if we're going to use the box method, since the binomial has two terms, we need to have two boxes down the side, and then we need to have three boxes across the top because the trinomial is three terms. So we're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing we did with multiplying binomials, where we put the binomial down the side here. We have x and 8. And then across the top, we put the terms for the trinomial. So we have 5x squared, negative 6x, and positive 10. And just like before, I don't write the plus sign if there's a plus sign there. We assume that things are positive, and then the only time I'm going to write a sign is if it's a minus sign. In this case, minus 6x becomes negative 6x. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and do my multiplying. So for the first box, I'm going to have 5x to the third power because this is x to the 1. And we have x squared. 1 plus 2 is 3. So remember, we add the exponents to get the total number of exponents that we need when we multiply. All right, and so if we work our way across, we're going to have negative 6x squared because there's a 1 there as well. And then the last box is going to be just 10x. And so instead of putting the 1 there, we're just going to leave it as 10x. And then if we go across the bottom, 8 times 5 is 40, so we have 40x squared. And then 8 times negative 6 is negative 48, and we just put the x without the 1. And then 8 times 10 is 80. And with this one, when we multiply binomials, we would combine the two terms that were on the diagonal. But in this case now, we have squared terms here that we need to combine. And we also have just x terms here that we need to combine. So if we look at this, I'm going to go ahead and shade the other two with some additional colors. So we have this one, and then we have also this one here. Okay, so one thing that's kind of cool about being able to use highlighters like this is I can look at this and say, hey, I've got a purple one, a red one, a green one, and a blue one. That means I'm going to have 4 terms in my answer. Because I'm going to be able to combine the 2 red ones, I'm going to be able to combine the 2 green ones, and end up with just 4 things that are left. Okay, so the first term is going to be 5x to the third. The last term is going to be plus 80. And then for the red one, 40 minus 6 is 34. So I'm going to have plus 34x squared. Okay, so when we combine like terms, the exponent doesn't change. And then we have negative 48x plus 10x. Another way to think about that is turn it around and say 10x minus 48. So that's negative 38x. Okay, so there we go. We just multiplied a binomial by a trinomial, and we ended up with 4 terms in our answer. Okay, so you have one that you can try on your own here. So go ahead and try this one on your own. When you are done, you can keep the video going, and we're going to talk about some special cases. All right, the special cases that we want to talk about are, the first one is when we have a binomial with an exponent of 2 on the outside. So when we have something that looks like that, what this actually means is that binomial times itself. So we are going to write this as x minus 10 times x minus 10. Okay, so the exponent of a 2 means we multiply something by itself. So we're just going to multiply the same binomial together. So we have x and negative 10, and then we have x and negative 10. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. We multiply x times x, and we get x squared. Across the top, we have negative 10x. And then on the bottom, what you're going to notice is we're going to have the same negative 10x. And then negative 10 times negative 10 is positive 100. Okay, so we have that, and then we can combine these terms that are on the diagonal. And they're both negative, so that means all we have to do is add them together and keep it negative. So we end up with x squared minus 20x plus 100. Okay, so hopefully, if you do enough of these, what you're going to notice is that I just have to take that last number and add it together to get the middle term, and then multiply it together to get the last term. Okay, and it only works if we start off with just an x in our binomial. I noticed that on the problem that you're going to have to do, there's a 2 in front of the x, and so that's going to change things a little bit. So still use the box method to figure out what the 4 terms are and then what the 2 are that you're going to combine. All right, the last special case is when we have 2 binomials that almost look identical, except one is positive and the other one is negative. So I'm going to put the positive one on top and the negative one down the side. And something unique happens with this one. We still get x squared here. We get 9x here, but we get negative 9x down here and negative 81 here. And the unique thing that happens with this one is when we have two binomials that look identical but have different signs, that means that that middle term, or when we combine like terms, it's just going to disappear because we have opposites. So we have negative 9x and positive 9x. That means that they are going to disappear. And so when you have something like this, all we have left is x squared minus 81. All right. So you have 2 to try on your own. Let's see here. Yeah, so the first one is a little different than the one that I did because of that 2 in front of the x. So that's going to change things a little bit, but you know how to deal with that, so you should be able to do that without too much trouble. All right, so when you get done with these, make sure you enter them into Schoology, and if you have any questions, please let me know.